Hi students, I am creating this video to give you guidance on the assignments that I need you to do in lieu of us having class tomorrow. As you can probably hear from my voice, I'm not feeling the best. You probably also should have received um, an email, or actually I will put this video in the announcement. Anywho, okay, so I need to go over several things. Please make sure you watch this video until the end. All right, one of the first things I'm going to do is go to view as student because I want to show you all how to check your feedback. I spent the weekend marathon grading your RACA 2 drafts. So those are in your grade book. And it dawned on me that some of the students, some of you all, may not realize that I have left feedback, like extensive feedback, on both your second drafts for your RACA and for your textual rhetorical analysis paper. So I want to make sure you all know how to do that. So first, let me go into view as student. And then, all right, so let me go to the grades. And keep in mind, again, this is from the test student. All right, so when you are looking at your grade book, should look, kind of similar to this one. So you should scroll down to both the TRA2 Canvas copy as well as the RACA2 Canvas copy are going to have detailed feedback for you. And you'll notice that these two icons are a little bit different from the other icons. So this one indicates that there's rubric, and this one indicates that there's new feedback. The best way to access that feedback is to go click on the actual assignment, and then you'll be taken to this page and you'll see view feedback. So click view feedback and you will see, or when you click into your gradebook, you will see your document and you'll see marginal comments out there for you. The wonderful thing about this is you can download, click this button here, you can download this annotated document to your own computer, and you can see that says download annotated PDF to your own computer, and you won't have to go back into the gradebook every time you want to look at your feedback for those particular um, papers. Okay, the main reason I wanted to make sure I showed you all how to see that feedback, let me go ahead and leave student view. Wanted to show you all how to access that feedback to you all is because, oh my God, guys, I was horrified in so many ways about several papers, a few too many to count. For your RACA papers, there were so many papers that weren't using lyrics at all. I have some very concerning suspicions about papers that were not using lyrics at all and not citing any sources at all. My suspicions is those papers are heavily AI. Just going to be completely honest with you. We have worked with AI in the preliminary stages, but you should not be using AI to write your papers. I'm also rather concerned about how many papers had literary analysis terms, things like repetition and metaphor and imagery. Those are not terms that we have discussed as it relates to rhetorical analysis for any of these assignments. Those are literary analysis terms, and you probably did a lot of that in high school. Literary analysis is not the same as rhetorical analysis. And you can see my comments on your papers when you look at them. So please make sure you look at them. The other thing that brought up a lot of concern for me as I was looking at your papers is the lack of citing for so many sources. So that is particularly why I'm making this video, because due to the issues with citing in so many papers, I had to come up with an assignment that we would have been doing in class on tomorrow, on Tuesday. So let me get to that. You all were supposed to um, read the Purdue Owl, quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing. And let me reiterate, if you have forgotten or aren't sure, whether you are quoting, paraphrasing, or summarizing, you have to cite. You have to use quotation marks when you're quoting. Paraphrasing is putting source information into your own words. You still have to cite. And summarizing is giving a very truncated, main points, main ideas only version of a source. You still have to cite. I said it to you all many times before. Anytime you're using source information that does not come from your own head, you have to cite. Not sure why that didn't get through to many of you all, as I could see in the RACA paper. Um, so, with that in mind, I want to walk through introducing sources because that's going to be really important in the SCP paper. I want to walk you all through introducing sources as well as a in sentence citation as well as a parenthetical citation. So that is going to be your assignment. And let me create two examples for you because I know everyone has to use waste. The first thing we are going to, or I'm going to walk through, is the waste citations. So no one can have excuses saying, oh, I didn't have the waste citation. All right. The citations that I'm going to walk through, I'm going to show you how your citation would look if it's a hard copy, like you have the book in your hand, or if you're using a ebook. Because obviously I can't show a real book via a video. I'm going to look at the ebook version from the UTC library. Remember, you just type flowers waste in the search bar on the library homepage, and it takes you to that page I was at a moment ago. Alrighty, and then we're going to pull up the book. Close some of these tabs. All right, apparently I gotta accept the cookies. Okay, so here is the ebook. So we're gonna walk through that citation for that. There are two ways that you all need to consider waste. One, if you are using information from a single chapter, so let's say chapter 5, if you are using information from a single chapter in waste, you should cite only that chapter. If you are using information from several chapters, you need to cite the whole book. I'm going to give you the citations for both. All right, so the full citation, we go Flowers, comma, Catherine Coleman. And let me say something about her name. So I'm assuming that this is her maiden name. And some people take their maiden name as their middle name, and some people hyphenate their name. If she had hyphenated her last name, and let's say her name was Coleman-Flowers, this is what her name should be throughout your paper. However, that is not the case. Her last name is Flowers. So when you're inverting someone's name, you simply move the last name to the beginning and you put a comma. All right, so we're going to do the one for a chapter first. Say chapter 3. This chapter title serves as your quote unquote article title if you were looking at like a newspaper or a magazine. We have to list the entire title of the book. You'll note here that article titles, in this case a chapter, are placed in quotation marks. Book titles are italicized. MLA describes this as the container method. So a chapter is contained in a book. A song for your last paper, the rack paper, a single song is contained within an album. So the song title would be in quotation marks while the album title would be italicized. And that plays out in many different ways. Movies should be italicized, movie titles. But TV shows. So the name of the show would be italicized, but a particular episode title would be in quotation marks. All right, so we have the author, period, article title, or in this case, chapter title, period, italicize the book title. The next thing we need is the publication name. Sorry, not the publication name, the publisher. So we're looking at the ebook. We see right here, it says publisher, the New Press. Another way you can look at it is if we actually look at the book online, or if you're holding the book in your hand, slowly flip through the first couple of pages and you will see the logo for the publisher. And I'm going to slowly scroll. So similar to you looking at the first couple of pages of the book if you have it in your hand. Pages load kind of funny. I was scrolling too fast at some point and lost pages and stuff. All right. There it is right there. The New Press. All right. So we need to put that in. The New Press. Comma. We need the year of publication. Go back. There it is right there. It's published in 2020. So put that in. And remember again, we are using a specific chapter, so we need the page numbers. In MLA, you put PP, 2 P's, stands for page. I don't know why they have 2 P's. It just is what it is. So 2 P's, neither are capitalized. And then we need to go look at, let's go back a page. Computer will let me. All right, we can just easily look at it. So I listed chapter 3 as the title we're using. So that says chapter 3 is on pages 45 through 64. So we have PP period space 45 through 64. And you'll notice that autocorrect capitalized one of these P's. Just go back and correct it. All right. If you have a physical copy of the book, this is where this citation would end. However, if you have an ebook version, we need 2 more pieces of information. You need the name of the database, and we can go back to the page. This information right up here in the top, ProQuest eBook Central. We put that in there. Database names get italicized also. Italicize that. And the other piece of information you need is the URL for this particular chapter. So I click on chapter 3. And then up at the top, there's a link. So share link. Click that. And then copy that URL because that's going to take me directly to chapter 3. And I pop that in there and let it hyperlink. Let it link. This is the citation if you are citing a single chapter from Catherine Coleman Flower's book, Waste. I'm also going to do if we're citing the whole book. We always want to work smarter, not harder. So copy and paste and just delete what you don't need. We said we're doing we're doing the whole book. So take out the chapter. You don't need it. And because we're not doing a single chapter, it also means we don't need page numbers. Take that out. Other thing we need to take out, actually, let me take out the URL because remember this URL from up here goes directly to chapter 3. We need the URL for the full book. So let's take that out. And actually, let me back up a little bit. All right. If you have the physical book in your hand and you're citing the whole book, this is what your citation looks like right here. But again, if you're using the ebook, we need that database information, and then we need what's called a permalink. And actually, let me pull up the UTC again. I shouldn't have closed that page. Bear with me, things loading. Ready? Let's go back to the page on here. Fortunately, we don't need to click any further because what we're looking for is the permalink. This is a permanent link for the ebook for Waste in our UTC system. So click that, you get a little drop down. Get the link and pop that in. And you'll notice, I want that to be paste. All right, we'll fix it in a second. So you'll notice that that URL is different from this URL. Let me fix that. That font is going to bug me. Related, I would hope font differences kind of bug you all because it's important to have, correct font for your papers. That was another thing I noticed in a lot of papers. There were font changes all over the place. Your header is in a different font than the heading. The heading is in a different font from the rest of the paper. Remember, I've showed you all how to do select all for your drafts. Do select all, make sure you have a single font, and make sure you have the same font type. All right, so you'll notice that this link is different from this one. So here we have the 2 citations for Flowers' book, Waste, whether you're using a chapter or you're using the whole book. And again, remember, if you're using a print copy, then you would take off the database information. If you are using an ebook, then you need that database name and the URL. All right, so let's do a full introduction. Well, what do I mean by introductions? If we go back to the quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing, we have a simple example here, but we do have the beginning of a introduction. So this is a book, and we know it's a book because it is italicized, and it's by Sigmund Freud, and the famous, psychologist, or infamous, however you want to look at him if you're taking psych classes this semester. And it says in his famous and influential work. So that's giving a brief description about this work. So MLA is a author-based citation system, meaning naming the author is the most important thing. That means you have to introduce the author, but you also want to tell a little bit about the source. So in this case, they're talking about a book. They've given a brief description of the book, and then they've named Freud. And we have some placeholders here, but these would just be page numbers. So like, 34 or 59 or 112 or something like that here. And please note, you would not have um, page or anything like that. I'm going to show you examples of that in a moment. All right, so let's create a full introduction for waste. So in chapter 3 of Catherine Coleman Flowers, we need possessive, so add an apostrophe after the S, waste. And again, work smarter, not harder. Her title is long. No, you cannot cut it. So, copy paste. So in chapter 3 of Catherine Coleman Flowers, Waste, One Woman's Fight Against America's Dirty Secret, notice when I copied and pasted, I picked up the period. I don't need a period. I need a comma there. This is a full introduction. I have her name, and I have the particular chapter I'm using, and I have the book. I could have simply said in Catherine Coleman Flowers, Waste, blah, 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 blah. She reports on whatever. All right. So that's an introduction. We could add something about her. If I'm not mistaken, she was a teacher and an attorney, and maybe she was an attorney. No, she was a teacher. She did a whole bunch of stuff. We know that. We'll say renowned activist. Lovely if I could spell. All right. In renowned activist Catherine Coleman Flowers Waste, or we could say book Waste. One woman's fight, yada yada yada. She reports, da da da. This is a full introduction. We have her name. We have the book. When you're introducing, it's most important to mention the author's name. You can mention the article title, or in this case, chapter title. You can mention the publication, or you can mention author. It's up to you, but you must mention the author's name. If there is no author, you have to mention the article title and the publication title, and something about the source. All right. So that's the introduction. Let's do an in sentence reference. That means putting her name in it. Flowers, reports, blah, blah, blah. And we picked chapter 3, so 45 through 64. So let's go with 58. Notice that there is nothing else in this citation, in this parenthetical citation. There's no P for page. The word page is not there. There's nothing. Flower's name is in the sentence. You have your sentence, and then the page number. And then here, last thing, example of a parenthetical citation. So she further claims, blah, 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 Flowers, 60. There's her name. There's a page number. You can split these up, author's name and in the sentence and then page number in the parentheticals, or you can put the author's name and the page number in the parentheticals. What you cannot do, which is not common practice, you should not mention the page numbers in your sentences. That's quite uncommon. All right, so there is the example for flowers is waste. I'm going to do one other example from one of the sources that was listed. I believe it was listed on the compiled waste list. So here is that source. We have almost everything we need looking at this image right here. It's a Washington Post article, says that right there. Here's our title. Redlining means 45 million Americans are breathing dirtier air, 50 years after it ended. And if we scroll a little bit further past the image, we see the author, Daryl Fears, and we see the date of publication. And then, of course, we have the URL up here. All right, so we have everything we need to create this citation. So let's see. Daryl Fears is our author. Let's pop that in. Fears on Daryl. It was a really long title. Redlining means 45 million Americans, blah, blah, blah. Breathing dirtier air. Comma, 50 years after it ended. All right, you will notice that I capitalized several words. Remember, MLA has specific rules about capitalizing. Those words are not capitalized here. Only Americans and redlining are capitalized. Redlining is the first word of the title. Americans, it's a description of people from a country. Americans, us, or most of us anyway. So, so, or all of us, I would assume. Anyways, I digress. Those are the only words that are capitalized in the title on the page. Or on the particular website, but you're applying MLA rules to the article title, so you do capitalize other things. The publication title, the Washington Post. Again, we italicize the publication title. We have the date. Let's go back. We'll notice that the date is written how we would typically write dates: day, month, day, year. But remember, in MLA you invert, so it would be day, month, year, and then all months except May, June, July get shortened. So it will be 9 MAR 2022, if I recall correctly. Yeah, 22. All right, and then we need the URL. So let's grab the URL. Copy. What? Also, do remember that your citations on your actual works cited page should have hanging indentations. I'm not going to futz with that in this slideshow right now, but yeah, that's your. Remember, you need to have those. All right, so here's a complete citation for this. So, got the author, Fears Commodero. Redlining means 45 million Americans are breathing dirty air 50 years after it ended. After is a preposition, so it does not need to be capitalized. And yes, it and are do need to be capitalized, although they are short. Are is a verb, it is a pronoun. Those words get capitalized in MLA. The Washington Post publication title, italicized. Your date, 9 March, MAR, period, 2022, and then our URL. All right, so full introduction. According to Daryl Fears, let's say journalist Daryl Fears. Not how you spell journalist. All right, according to journalist Daryl Fears, in his Washington Post article, and we need to italicize. All right. So we've got author's name, we got something about him, credibility wise, and then we have the publication title. We could go on further and put the actual article title here if we wanted to. Again, you have options when you are introducing sources. You don't have to do it the exact same every time. Remember when you're copying and pasting to make sure you update, font types and sizes and things. All right, so we've got author, we've got publication title, and we've got article title. Our end sentence reference would be Fears reported statistics about yada yada yada. There are no page numbers for this, so that's it. There is nothing to put in parenthetical citation, so there is no parenthetical citation. And then here, he further claimed that yada yada. This is where we'd have a parenthetical citation with just his last name because that's all we have, and that's it. So that is two examples. Technically three. You got the chapter as well as whole book for flowers, and you've got a particularly newspaper article example. So here is what I want you all to do, and I have detailed instructions about that. I have several slides set up for you. You'll notice that it says student, and then you have the same format I had. Full citation, full introduction, example of an in-sentence reference / citation, example of a parenthetical citation. This assignment is one, it gives you all more practice because y'all need more practice with citing. I'm just going to be honest. It gives you more practice with citing, but also we are folding in the source check that I'm not going to get to do because we're not in class tomorrow. So I want you to find a slide or two, put your name there, and then you're going to create the same, you're going to go through the same processes that I just did with those three sources or those two sources and three examples. Put in a full citation, put in a full introduction, put in an in-text, in-sentence reference, and a parenthetical citation for your sources. If you have two sources currently, which I hope everybody has two sources currently, Then you put your name on 2 slides and you put both your sources there. If you have 3 slides, 3 sources, put your name on 3 slides and put your 3 sources. 1 source per slide. Um, Add the listed information. Use my examples as guides. And then either Quincy or I will offer you feedback, quote unquote, corrections on those slides to make sure that you are creating correct citations, to make sure that you all are prepared to use your sources in the SCP. You all are about to use the most sources you've had to use. Some of you use a lot of sources in RACA, some use too many. But anyways, some of you all use many sources. So when you are using multiple sources in a paper, you have to cite a lot. So yeah, you have to cite every time. So yeah, that's what I want you to do. The other thing that we will not get a chance to do while we're because we're not in class is you all were supposed to do an outline. That is listed here. So with this assignment, this is going to be due tomorrow night, Tuesday night at 11:59. So you have pretty much all day to do your 1 or 2 sources. To be honest, it shouldn't take you more than maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Maybe a little bit longer if you have more sources. And the outline that was supposed to be due tomorrow night, I'm pushing that to Wednesday. I will update these things. What that means, unfortunately, is your draft still has to be due on Thursday. So you are going to have to get that done. But you are going to have a little more time. I try not to be a monster. But yeah, let me give you a little bit of information on the outline. So I do have a sample outline for you, specific to this particular assignment. And then you also had a reading from your textbook, chapter 7.2. Make sure you look at that. The chapter gives you information on mapping as well as outlining. Good information. And then I have a detailed outline here with annotated notes. Let me stress this. Some students like to blow off the outline. I've seen it happen time and time again. They'll put in the minimum information and their outline doesn't really tell much. It doesn't show where the sources fit with the claims. It's a really, really sparse outline. And then when they're writing the paper, they look at the paper and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what else to write. And I look at the outline, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not surprised. You didn't offer a detailed outline for yourself, so you've run out of things to say. If you create a detailed outline for yourself at this point, it will be much, much easier to write the paper. So work on making your claims already. Work on stating what sources fit with each of your claims. So yeah, go through this outline. You can literally copy and paste or download this and copy and paste into your own document, and then just fill in the information. So yeah, this outline is detailed for a reason. The more detail you can offer yourself in an outline, the better and easier it will be when you're writing the paper. Pre-writing is important to the whole writing process. The more stuff you do early, the easier it is to write the paper on the back end. Alrighty, this video has gone on long enough. I know it's a lot, but please make sure you watch to the end, even if you have to break it up and watch it in pieces. So yeah, those are your tasks, and I will update the things on Canvas. Be well, take care.